Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Today, we give our stars and skulls grades. But before we do that, I want to talk about how Arthur Smiht and Justin Fields are clicking to open up the middle part of the field, something Steelers fans have wanted for so long out of their offense. We'll do all that with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. Right now, you can place your first $5 bet on FanDuel, and you'll get started with $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As I said, we're joined by, as I said before, we're joined by the man himself, Alan Saunders. He's back in the building. Alan, good to have you back, sir. The Steelers are 3-0. Lots of good things to talk about here. And I think the defense is definitely the best part of the team still, as predicted, but even historically so, as a lot of people are talking about this Monday. But I can't help but look at the upside for the offense and think that could be the most exciting part of the team, because we kind of knew about the defense. But if this offense does take steps forward, that makes this team a whole different level of competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I think if, the thought was if they could be a great defense and an average offense, then you get a playoff team. And I think, we're starting to see signs of that coming along. I don't think, no one's writing any ballads about 20 points against the Los Angeles Chargers, but I think you're just seeing solid progress, and I think that's rightfully got some people excited.
And I think that's the thing is that excitement, because people have been waiting for this for a while from the Steelers offense, back from the first year without Ben Roethlisberger, the second year with Kenny Pickett. And even all preseason this year, they were just looking for some signs of progress. And so you're starting to see it. And one thing that I saw, Alan, and I did a film study in this for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Go check that out if you haven't. It should be up either Monday night or Tuesday morning. But it should be up by the time y'all are watching this. But one thing that I was noticing was how the Steelers were making available the middle part of the field against the Chargers, because, as we noted against the Falcons, it was part of the plan to avoid the middle part of the field because you didn't want to throw it near Jesse Bates. He's a problem. Justin Simmons is a problem. But this is also a team with Derwin James, who's also a problem as a factor in. But I saw the Steelers developing ways to attack the middle part of the field, to give Justin Fields calculable decisions that he can say, hey, if this guy's here, I'm going there. If this guy's there, I'm going here. And I was really impressed by how they were setting up some of these looks. They were giving him, hey, if oftentimes there's these zone looks, you're going to be able to isolate one or two defenders and force them into a decision. And then based off that decision, you just have to react in the right way. And when you look at how the game played out, attacking the middle part of the field played a big role for Justin Fields when you looked at how this game played out, because that's where Calvin Austin's touchdown came. That's where the 3rd and 15 conversion to Calvin Austin came in this game. And when you look at where he was throwing, when he went between the numbers in this game, he was 10 for 14 for 144 yards with a touchdown. Did throw an interception, but when he targeted there beyond 10 yards, he was 3 of 5 for 94 yards for that touchdown and no interceptions there. I have to think that's a big part of this offense that can open up a lot of other things if they can hit that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think, I don't know when the last time you can say this was. I think Arthur Smiht significantly outcoached Jesse Minter in this game. I don't understand why the Chargers were giving them so much of that middle of the field. I mean, there were some times when you'd see Derwin James walk down, but there was a lot of too high, a lot of quarters. And, I don't think the Steelers really have the personnel to dictate that kind of coverage. Who do you feel like you need a second deep safety to handle besides
George
14?
Pickens. Yeah,
right. Like what's that other deep safety back there for? And then they had him back there and they didn't cover Calvin Austin anyway. Like, I just think, I think that's actually a really bad way to attack the Steelers. I'm not sure how much of this was the thought process coming into the season for a couple reasons. One, I think the Steelers thought they would have a little bit more success on the ground game than they have so far. And so I thought they would dictate a little bit more, teams absolutely bringing that extra man into the box. I think the Steelers were thinking they would be throwing the ball against 8-man boxes a lot, and therefore you usually have the middle of the field closed against an 8-man box. Also, installed this offense with the intention of it being run by Russell Wilson, historically not very good at throwing over the middle. He's a short guy, has a hard time seeing over his offensive line. So I think this is just an adjustment from Arthur Smiht saying, hey, offensive line's banged up. We don't have all the pieces we thought we were going to have, and maybe not running the ball as well as we thought we were going to. Looks like this team is going to try to play quarters against us a whole bunch, or cover 2 against us a whole bunch. Yeah, Justin can see over the middle of the field. Let's throw it there. And so I think it was a really nice job by Arthur Smiht of just taking with the defense and Justin Fields, because some of those have been open and he has been turning them down. And I think it was a combination of Arthur Smiht, with some nice play calls. Justin Fields looked really decisive, the most decisive I've seen him. They took it there. I don't know if it's going to be there every week. I think if I was a defensive coordinator, I would be, if I'm the Indianapolis Colts right now, I'm like, no, we're not letting that happen. Right. We're going back to making them complete jump balls on the outside to George Pickens over and over again if they want to take it down the field against us. But we'll see. We'll see how defenses keep playing against them. But I just think I'm really impressed by the flexibility to say, hey, look, maybe this is what we intended to do, but we're seeing what's out there. This is working. And I think that's why they got better as the game went on, is they were keying in on what the Chargers were doing. And by the end of the game, they were finding answers. And man, we haven't seen that here in a while.
Yeah, it's been different. It's been a long time since you've seen a coordinated attack that counters what defenses are doing by a Steelers offense. And I think that's where the Steelers got a big advantage in this game late, was when they started to really hit on those plays, especially in the fourth quarter. When they hit that Calvin Austin play, I mean, Derwin James was down low on that play, but guess who he was looking at? George Pickens. There were 2 safeties deep on that play. One came up, but he didn't come up on Calvin Austin. Guess who he came up on? Pat Freiermuth. And it kind of looked like to me like they made a point like, hey, we're going to use these guys as decoys. And Justin, if they're teeing off on them, know that you got these options here. That opened up chances for Scotty Miller. That opened up chances for Calvin Austin. Also opened up chances for Najee Harris and Cordero Patterson. One of those ended up being picked to Cordero. But, I think that was a good sign that this offense can use multiple players. It's not just about, hey, just throw it up to George Pickens and let him be Superman, even though that's still an option that you have and do want to use. But if teams want to, focus on that, the fact that the Steelers can attack that in the middle part of the field to force you to honor things, I think that can open up so much, because now, Alan, you hit some of those types of plays, and let's say they do this next week too against the Colts. Now teams that when they want to play your run, they can't just blitz both their linebackers against you. They can't just be playing first step. We're going right off the ball. We're firing at the line of scrimmage like they have for the past 4 years against the Steelers. That's the kind of stuff that opens up more chances for this O-line to get going and more chances for Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, and Cordero Patterson to get going.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on they have to be consistent with it. You're not going to get defenses to adjust to you if you're not consistently executing. It's not going to happen from 1 week. Like you said, they got to keep doing it. But I do think that path is there for them, and then we'll see what happens. I think, I do think that they want to run the ball better than they have, and they feel like that can be a bigger part of the offense. And if they get there, teams may decide they want to keep that middle of the field closed and keep that safety down. But yeah, I think they've just got to keep executing, and I think I like the trajectory of the offense right now in all facets. I think Arthur Smith's doing a good job. I think Justin Fields is doing a good job. I thought the offensive line was better. I thought Najee Harris, despite the fact that he did not have a whole lot of statistical yardage, I thought he ran really well compared to what was available to him. Yeah. And so, there you go.
Absolutely. I agree. They have a trajectory in the right way. We'll talk about grades in a second here. Locked On Steelers, Stars and Skulls grades coming up right after this, so stick with us. We still got a lot to discuss here on the Tuesday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast with Chris Carter and Alan Saunders. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place that you need, that a lot of people go to get to look for a job. So if you're looking for people to hire as a small business, there's no better place to go to find the right professionals than LinkedIn. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't even actively searching for a new job just yet, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Alan, let's talk some stars and skulls grades. As always, we grade Steelers each week. Our rubric is stars are good, skulls are bad. You get up to 3 stars for being an elite player in this game, 2 stars for being a great player to good player in this game, 1 star if you had like a good moment here or there, and in the reverse, 1 skull means you really had a bad play, never really truly redeemed yourself. 2 stars, 2 skulls is a bad game. 3 skulls is basically an all-time terrible game. And of course, you want to avoid the dreaded bus ticket grade, which we handed out quite a few times that last year. None this year so far. When you're 3-0, there's not too many bus tickets to go around. But whenever we're talking about a win, we start with the bad. And so I don't have too many bads here, but I do have 2 in particular 1 skull grades here. Alan, I'll
2. Just 2.
I give 2. I was a little lenient this week because there were some guys who I felt could have that I took off because I liked what they did in other parts of the field that weren't there. But if you had to guess 2 players, who would they be?
I'll be honest, I'm having a hard time coming up with even 2. Man, there weren't like a ton of standout negative performances. I will agree with that.
And again, these are when you get a 1 skull grade, this does not mean that you had a bad day. You just had like a bad play here or there, and I never saw you really redeem it.
I'm not coming up with one like that's obvious to me.
My 2 1 skull grades are guys that line up right next to each other every single play, and I give it to the left side of the offensive line. I give it to Dan Moore and Spencer Anderson. Now,
Moore, yeah, okay, that's 2 good calls there.
So, and here's why. Moore gave up a really bad sack early in this game. I didn't see the offensive line started to take over later in this game. But you know what side of the offensive line was doing the taking over? It was the other side of the offensive line. And we'll get into those guys in just a minute here because I think they did really well. But Dan Moore had a really bad sack, and it was just an inexcusable, like he just like sold his whole body out to the outside, and it blew up a play early on. And then I never saw him really, kick in and do a really good job in the run blocking. And then Spencer Anderson, anytime that you're getting rotated in with the rookie 4th round pick, it's not a good sign. But there were also plays like the first 3rd down where Justin Fields ran a draw. A lot of people pinned that on Broderick Jones right away because it was the guy that was lined up in front of him. But Broderick Jones was playing to the edge to take away Khalil Mack. Spencer Anderson was pulling down the line and was supposed to get the D tackle. He pulled too wide, if you will, and was never in the way of Tui Tuipulotu, who made the play on Justin Fields and stopped him on 3rd down there. And it was just I never saw that redemption moment for Spencer Anderson. And I've only done really 1 full all 22 watch through the game. Oftentimes I'll like click through and try to rewatch things to just reaffirm what I'm watching. But on an initial run through, I just give my 2. There's only 2 1 skull grades in this game, and they both went to the left side of the O-line.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Dan Moore, the one pass pro rep where he gave up the sack was pretty ugly. And yeah. I agree. I didn't see anything that really jumped out at me to kind of take it away. Trying to think of what else, if there's anybody else that could have been deserving, man. It was a pretty clean game. Very few penalties. Those are kind of usually the ones that stand out to me for like 1 skull grades. And I don't really see very many. So I kind of agree with this.
All right, so we're on the same page there. Let's go to our 1-star grades because again, when there's no other skulls, we'll move right into the stars. So these are the guys that made smaller contributions, but I think deserved recognition. Running through, got a good list of people here for 1-star grades. For those who aren't watching on YouTube, I'll run through them. Scotty Miller, he made some plays in the receiving game. Connor Heyward, George Pickens, Corliss Waitman, Chris Boswell, Deshaun Elliott, Keanu Benton, Peyton Wilson, Darnell Washington, Larry Ogunjobi, Cordero Patterson, Pat Freiermuth, Beanie Bishop. Pat Freiermuth did have a drop in this game that almost led to me dropping him down to a neutral grade, not a skull. But I thought he also made some important plays that kept the Steelers alive in certain situations. So I brought him in there. Alan, do you have any problems with this 1-star list here?
Yeah, I got problems, Chris.
No.
Not really. No. You know what? I mean, I gotta say, I think this is a good list. I think honestly, Scotty Miller and Cordero Patterson deserve I don't know what they need, a 1-star plus, because it wasn't necessarily about the volume of their contributions,
but the timeliness of it.
But Miller had 2 catches and Patterson had 4 carries. That's not a ton of heavy lifting, but it was their flexibility in keeping things from going to pieces. When Van Jefferson went down, they only had 4 wide receivers dressed. That could have been a catastrophe. And the fact that Miller was able to play all 3 spots, that Patterson was able to move from running back to wide receiver and keep things going. I think I understand, according to the rubric, that's a 1-star day for those guys, but it was a pretty impressive 1-star for me. Everybody else here, I'm down with, I agree with all the way around.
Yeah, there's other guys. I thought if Keanu Benton had a big sack in this game, that would have put him at a 2-star. Same for Ogunjobi. But also, I got to say this about Heyward and Washington specifically. Those guys were blocking their butts off. I think, and this is something that we'll start to get into when we get into the 2-star grades too, Alan. I think I've been saying for years the Steelers need bread and butter run play on offense. They used to have those counter traps they used to love, where they would pull Pouncey into Castro or pull Villanueva into Castro, and they'd get them out running in space. And when they did that, well, you knew Le'Veon Bell was just getting 5-6 yards on that play or more. And late in the game, there was a counter sort of trap, but it was Washington and Heyward being the lead, the trapping blocker that set it up. Both those plays that I said, and I tweeted about those, so go check my Twitter at Carter Critiques for some of these clips here. But both of those plays, you see Broderick Jones just crush the man down the line, and then you see James Daniels get up to the second level, and then you see either Heyward or Washington pulling down the line, and both times they went and specifically got Derwin James, who was trying to make a play in the hole, and doing those opened up a big run for Cordero Patterson that went 12 yards, and then opened up the 21-yard for Najee Harris that closed out the game.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going to happen without Michael Pruitt in the game, because I thought he's been a really good blocker for them. And I thought Connor Heyward really stepped up his blocking game. Not really what I would consider his specialty, especially as an inline guy. When you line him up as a fullback, it's a little different. But I thought he was really good, and I thought Najee Harris did a really nice job setting those blocks up as well. They had that set up pretty nicely. So yeah, I agree. Good call on all that.
Thank you very much. We're going to talk about 2-stars and 3-star grades, the top graded players of this win over the Chargers. Who got what? We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter with Alan Saunders. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. And you got to get into FanDuel right now, because FanDuel is offering some amazing deals that are going to help you. But as always, we're going to give you the FanDuel lines for the upcoming week with the Steelers getting ready to take on the Indianapolis Colts. The Steelers open the week as 1.5-point favorites on FanDuel, with the money line at -122. Colts are +104. The over-under set at 39.5 points. Very close numbers here with the Steelers on the road as road favorites over the Indianapolis Colts. Get all your odds, ends, and lines at FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. And now, at FanDuel, you can take advantage of a great opportunity. If you're a new customer, if you haven't bet on FanDuel yet, guess what? You can do so today and get a huge advantage because you can get started. If you make one $5 bet on FanDuel today, and it's your first bet, you will get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right, $200 of free bets to just simply for new customers when you bet $5 today only on FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com today to take advantage of that offer, as well as go download their app. And again, that's FanDuel.com to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Alan, I know that there's going to be some controversy with my 2s and 3 stars because there's people that want certain 2 stars to be 3 stars, but I try to reserve that for truly elite play. And I thought we saw a lot of great play, but elite play is still a step above that. So I want to get your thoughts on my 2 stars here before we show our 3 stars. I have several 2 stars though, because I thought several people qualified for this. We start off with our 2 stars here, reading them off for our audio listeners. Patrick Queen, thought he had a special day. Joey Porter Jr., Broderick Jones, Zach Frazier, James Daniels, Justin Fields, first 2-star grade for him on the season, Najee Harris, Calvin Austin, and Landon Roberts. Your 2 primary off-ball linebackers, your primary running back, your receiver that made the biggest play of the game offensively in Calvin Austin. And I gave a 2-star to Justin Fields. If he didn't throw that pick, Alan, I might have been tempted to give him the 3-star, but I give him that. And I think that Justin Fields also would acknowledge, like, hey, I didn't play my best game, but I played a good game. And I feel like Justin Fields' decision-making warrants that. Was I too hard on Justin Fields? Should I have given him the 3-star, Alan?
No,
okay.
That's perfect. I mean, 2 touchdowns but it's not, look, what, I mean, I don't think you have like a strict like statistical, that's not how this works, but like
very much an art.
I mean, let's face it. Like there's the best possible quarterback play is a lot better than what the Steelers got from Justin Fields. If that's the best 3 stars, the best possible grade, at least have 300 yards. Yeah, at least have it was a good day. I will say that. It was a good day. Not a great day. I think that's really the way I actually want to judge like most of this team. Like there was a lot of good but not great, especially on offense. Like there were not absolute standout studs. There were just guys doing their jobs, and that's okay. That's better than it's been. But it wasn't like guys taking over the game. Now, probably a couple of those guys on defense.
just a few. So I'll give you a chance here to nail it because now you've had the full gamut of seeing all my other people. I have 3 3-star grades. Name them, sir.
TJ Watt.
That's 1.
Cam Heyward.
That's 2.
I forget who was on the 2 stars now. Damn it.
Now I'm not helping you now.
Nick Herbig.
Sir, you win the prize. I don't know what the prize is because we're broke over here, but you win the prize of guessing all the 3 stars correct. It indeed are 3-star grades for this week against the Chargers. TJ Watt, Cam Heyward, Nick Herbig. First of all, before we get to Nick Herbig, because I do think that's a big question here about what he's performing like. Cam Heyward continues to impress me because Cam Heyward continues to tell us, why do you keep calling me old? Why do you keep thinking my career is done? And then I just utterly destroy people for a living. And Alan, I knew live that he was playing very well. When I went back and looked at the film, I was like, oh my gosh, he was just murdering people. That's why they signed him to an extension. Omar Khan knows what he's doing out there.
Old 97 is where run plays go to die. That's I mean, really, you think about it, against Atlanta, they ran the ball a little bit, but everything was to the outside, right? Everything was outside with Bijan. Algier did nothing. Javonte Williams did nothing. Best running game in the NFL did very little. 44 yards on 15 carries for J.K. Dobbins, and it was a painful 44 yards for him, man. 97 was on top of everything. Did a whole episode of my Steelers Morning Rush podcast on Monday morning about it. Man, I can't believe how fast some people wrote this man off after an injury last year. Honestly, like I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little
shame on those people. And I'm not saying that sarcastic because I did not.
For just bailing on this dude, one of the franchise's all-time greats.
Yep.
Always been really good. Man, has he proven he still is. Just an absolute machine. The play where he just takes the tight end and just throws him out of the Uncle Phil, get out of here, flying through the trees. And then the guard comes over on him, and the running back's trying to hide behind the guard, and he's just like, "Oh, that's cool. I'll tackle you both." It's like some Aaron Donald stuff is what it is, except that Cam is older than Aaron Donald. So it's like some stuff that Aaron Donald ain't never did because he was done hung him up already. It's just awesome. It's incredible to see. He's really, really good, man.
I agree. TJ Watt does more TJ Watt things. I said this, if y'all check out the Thursday morning editions of Locked On NFL, I do it with Tony Wiggins on that show. It was about 2 weeks ago when Joe Alt had a great game against Max Crosby, and we talked about him, and Tony was like, "Man, he just blocked like, one of the best pass rushers in the game." I said, whoa. Max Crosby's up there, but he's a tier below TJ Watt. And I will then be able to see for myself just how good Joe Alt is when he comes to Pittsburgh and faces off against TJ Watt. And TJ Watt welcomed that man to the NFL, got a sack on him where he barely could put a hand on TJ Watt, also forced him to grab and hold the obvious way, because we know TJ Watt don't get too many holding calls, in such an obvious way, it wiped out a third down conversion for the Chargers earlier in the game. TJ Watt continues to be the wrecker of games and offenses.
I don't think there's too much more to say there. The man's awesome.
So let's get to Nick Herbig here, because that man also wrecked this game with 2 sacks, coming in quickly for Alex Highsmith and making a difference. Beating Rashawn Slater, by the way, who is also a really good offensive tackle. And again, that's not to slight Joe Alt. It's just, hey, you have to go up against the best, not the guy that's up there, the top. But Nick Herbig went up against Rashawn Slater and did pretty well. And then when they put someone else in against Rashawn Slater, it also didn't go well for them. And I look at
went well for them after the half.
That's true. After that, it's true. Nothing. They literally had -5 yards. So, what are we going to say there? But, Alan, I look at Nick Herbig, and, I have pushed against people that are like, "Oh, you should trade Alex Highsmith." That's stupid. You don't trade Alex Highsmith, and you don't absolutely need to. However, I do find there is weight to the side of the argument that says, get this man more snaps because he is dangerous when he's on the field. What do you say about how if anything, they should change about how many snaps Nick Herbig is getting in this defense?
Well, I don't think they're going to get much of a choice. I mean, I think Alex Highsmith is pretty hurt here with this groin injury. Talked to him in the locker room, and he said he had an MRI. It doesn't sound what I would call super promising that we're going to see Alex Highsmith on the field for the next 2 weeks. I think that's a good thing for the Steelers in the big picture. I think they'll get a really good sense of exactly where Nick Herbig is. I think a little bit of this is sort of like the Najee Harris, Jalen Warren argument, where it's like, the pass rushing is great, but he's not dealing with first and second down double team runs at him all game and then trying to rush the passer. Highsmith's doing sort of a lot of heavy lifting, and then Herbig comes in and is like, "Oh, 3rd and 8, I got this." It's a little bit easier. And so I think we'll see how Nick Herbig holds up to a bigger workload. I don't think they should really entertain the idea of trading Alex Highsmith.
I agree.
But I think it'd be nice to know if Nick Herbig can do it if he has to. And I think they're going to find out here, because I think he's going to start against the Colts.
It's one of those things Mike Tomlin says is a good problem to have to worry about that one, because at the end of the day, you aren't mad if Alex Highsmith has to start in a game. And someone posed to me, it's like, "Oh, well, if it just stinks because you can't pay Nick Herbig if you keep Alex Highsmith. Well, wait a second. Alex Highsmith's contract is up a year after Nick Herbig's rookie contract is up. So I don't know about you, but that sounds exactly about the right kind of timing that you would need if you were the Steelers to make a decision there. So, and you got 3 more years before you got to worry about that. So it is not on my list of concerns in the least.
Sure, it's not on Mike Tomlin's list of concerns either. Like, he's like, well, yeah, good. You're telling me our backup outside linebacker is really good. All right. Good problem. Thank you very much. Happy about that.
My last thing here, going back to the 2 stars, I listed Broderick Jones, and I didn't get to talk in depth about it. But, Alan, I felt like this was I'm back. Like John Wick, I'm feeling back type of moments in this game. The first offensive play of the game, the Steelers call a draw or whatever for Justin Fields to run up the middle. And what's the thing I've been saying? Broderick Jones needs to show that he gets so that we can see if he's back or if he's going to be healthy. And it was the punch. And that first play versus Joey Bosa, he used that punch, gripped him up at like the 22-yard line and rode him down and then pancaked him. And that was the one of 2 plays that Joey Bosa played, because after that he was like, I don't want to play against that guy. That hurt. And I look at Broderick Jones. I saw that. I saw several good blocks in the run game later in the game. Still has things to polish. Still had misses here and there. But that was a lot more of the Broderick Jones that we were saying needed to be part of this offense this year. And if that is a sign of what is to come, look out, world, because the Steelers' offensive line got some weapons.
Got that elbow brace off, baby.
Got that elbow brace off.
I think that was a big deal. I really do. I think that was a big part of it. I thought he looked a lot like the player we saw last year, where the run blocking was impressive. And even if the pass blocking was like a little bit inconsistent at times, it wasn't bad enough that it made it, it was still a net positive, right? It was still like most of what's happening here is really good. You can accept some of those hiccups because it's coming with the road grade power that we have not seen from him the last few weeks. Was back, man. Dude, that right side was just caving people in. I don't think it's a coincidence that James Daniels played his best game in the run blocking either when you put him next to Broderick Jones. I think those 2 get driving together. I think they looked really good. And so, I think there are going to continue to be hiccups in the pass pro. I think that's still a long-term area of growth for him. I think if he wants to eventually flip to the left side, he's going to have to be a lot better at that. But for right now, compared to what we saw, that was spectacular.
Absolutely. I agree with you entirely there. Lots of good notes there. Also, shout out to Zach Frazier. He had a really good game in this as well, especially late. We will break down a lot more throughout the week. Mike Tomlin talks today on Tuesday. We'll have notes on that for tomorrow's episode. We hope to have Mike DeFabo on for our Wednesday episode. It's going to be a fun week here on the Locked On Steelers podcast as we get turned from the Chargers game. Looking forward to the Colts game. We'll see all that here. Alan, thanks so much for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
At @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, and TikTok. PGH Steelers Now is the site's account, SteelersNow.com. You can read all my written work there, and you can check out my podcast, Steelers Morning Rush and Steelers Afternoon Drive with Zachary Smith, at our Steelers Now YouTube page or anywhere you find podcasts.
Absolutely. He's Alan Saunders from SteelersNow.com. Thank you, Alan. Thank you all for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com, including that film study that I'm doing on Justin Fields, Arthur Smiht in the middle of the field in the Steelers passing offense. And as always, find me here every Monday through Friday on the Locked On Steelers podcast on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. We'll see you again tomorrow here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.